how to use each template. First thing is this. In this chapter, the one prior to this template section, you saw the directions to send your mass email and each step we need to take, and an example letter as well as an example template, and we'll talk about that as well. But for the templates, this is right after you've either sent the mass emails or you maybe are already receiving emails, right? You started in the middle of the process with us, so we need to get this done correctly. So the first thing is this. I'm just going to go through each template and explain when you use it. And then your job, of course, are the coaches, and I will help you through each stage of this. And remember, the coaches, they know this better than I do now. I'm just the talking face. They really understand the recruiting process. So having said that, stage number one is this. Follow up. If you've got no response from them, this is the email you're going to send. Follow up is the subject line. You're going to put quotations. This means the subject line we gave you. So you're going to put follow up email, the exact subject line we gave you before. You can use the AI system to send the email, and you're going to say, "Dear coach, I hope this finds you well. I've not been able to reach you as of yet. I'm politely following up." That's the key right there, okay? Because it's polite, it's okay. It's going to be a brand new email. Are you looking for, put your position, obviously, for the class of whatever class you're in. Now, let's say you've been in contact with them quite a bit. We've been in touch with all the schools. Remember, in the prior chapter, we talked about organizing your Gmail. This one, you have to do in the same chain, this way you can keep in contact with them. So any schools we're genuine with or at the top of our list, you're going to go like this. "Dear coach, I hope this finds you well. Per your request to keep you updated." So that's the term. I've attached a recent Every Touch video, which is why we make so many of them. Thank you for your time. I look forward to staying in touch. There's no question needed. You're just staying in touch with them. Now, of course, this is a generic model. As you tell us your situation with the school, we may add in a question or we may add in something else. There's some cool things we can do during the fall season or leading up to the fall season. But this is the main, hey, you should be sending keep in contact emails to schools you like every month at a minimum. 3 weeks is kind of the best. So every 3 weeks, they get either an update about an Every Touch video or an update about your showcase or an update about a camp or an update about your grades or an extracurricular or a goal you scored or an Instagram post. So every 3 weeks, for the schools we really love, they do need an email. Okay, now let's say you received a generic email, right? You sent out the mass email and you got an email back. This is what you're going to do inside the same chain. Okay, that's really important. And at this point, there's no star associated with that account. So, "Dear coach, I hope this finds you well. I've not been able to reach you as of yet. I'm politely following up," right? Same as the other one. "Are you looking for I've attached a recent video below." So it's very similar. So if it's generic or you've not heard back from, it's the same template. Okay, now we're going to go to before ID camps. So if it's before ID camps, and I just want to say too, in the bottom of this video, there will be chapters, so you can skip within this video for each template. That way it's a little bit faster for you guys. Okay, so the first thing is camp attendee, which means that's the first part of your subject line. Got it? Good. Now, this part here we will have customized for you, but generally speaking, it's things of this nature. If you're playing MLS Next, then we want that first. It just depends on your strength, so that's why we want to put it there. So club team level, depending on if it's better than your GPA or not better, we customize it because remember, the coaches can't see the whole subject line. Some of it is blocked off. But relatively speaking, this is basically it. I put your position, put your GPA or club level at the beginning of the subject line if the team is a high level or if you have a high GPA. Now, if you've been in contact with them, right, you've already had contact prior to this ID camp, then you're better off sending to the coach that is going, okay, and CC everyone else. And if it could be, let's say it's an ID camp hosted by the individual school, then you'll send to the head coach and CC everyone else, okay? That's what you would do for that section. "Dear coach, this is assuming you've never spoken to them before. If you have spoken to them before, then it's going to be a little bit different because we have to make it genuine. But I've heard right things about your program, and this is something very specific. I'll be coming to your camp on." This is really the best genuine. You don't even need this. This is really the most important. Here's some more examples for you. If you're referred by somebody, it's not happened. This does not happen very often, but maybe your coach encouraged you to do that. It's always helpful. "My name is I'm very into the video below. I have attached my highlight video. Look forward to This is really important because they need to see your video ideally before the camp. Okay, we want them to see your video before the camp. Now, if you've already spoken with them, all you really would say instead, if it was already genuine, I would say you're already spoken to before the ID camp, then it's basically the same thing, but all you do differently, right? Because you've already spoken to them. Dear coach, I wanted to confirm I will be coming to your camp next week. I look forward to shaking your hand in person. And then you just get as a brief reminder, and maybe you don't need this brief reminder, right? It's up to you guys. If you think they don't remember you, then it's a good thing to do. If they do remember you, then if you know they remember you, like you had a phone call or something, then obviously don't do that because that's silly. Now, it's important this goes out a week before, okay? That's the goal. 1 week before, already spoken to before the ID camp, 1 week before. Next template, ID camp follow-up. Okay, so at this point, you've already emailed. So we could have a new email entirely. That is an option, in which case we use this subject line, or we can email responding to the email we sent before the camp. So ideally, it stays in the same chain. That's always the best case scenario. So we want to keep it inside the same chain. So because we want to keep it inside the same chain, we would say something like, dear coach, I really enjoyed camp. You could add something genuine, like I learned about this. This is kind of our example. If it's near the fall season, you could say, I've looked at your schedule and would like to come to a game in the fall, right? If it's summertime, which is often when these camps are, saying something like that can be really awesome. And then this is the money question, okay? What level do you believe I can play? This is really important because normally you want to ask, like, what feedback do I have? You cannot ask that because they will tell you probably. They'll be like, hey, we want you to improve on this, this, and this. But that's not why we go to camps. We go to camps to get recruited. So we need to know. Now, the reason you're saying this question is if you are being recruited by the school and it's a D3 program and they say, hey, we believe you can play Division III level, and they'll just tell you they like you. If you go into a D1 program, right, which tend to be more competitive, and they say to you, look, I don't think you're a D1 soccer player, then that's their way of saying they don't want you. And if they say to you, look, I think you're a top academic D3, that's also their way of saying you don't want you. So the reason we ask this question is we get the answer. If you were to instead just ask them, hey, do you want me on your team? Like, am I going to be on your team once you do the ID camp? You'll find that it just doesn't work, unfortunately. Like, the coaches just don't respond to that. And that's frustrating, right? Now, the reason they don't respond is they don't know the answer. They have to go refer to other coaches and they have other players. But if you say, what level should I aim for? They can answer that question. And you paid a lot of money. You deserve that answer. So that's why we do that specific question. Now, let's say you cannot attend camp. So let's say you cannot attend camp. You would do a subject line or in the same chain, right? So they've sent you an email and you don't need a new subject line. You would just send. So you don't need a new subject line for this. Okay, so you just thank you for your compliments, or your email, depending on if they gave you compliments. I'm very interested in your school. I'm very sorry, but I won't be able to attend on ... You don't have to go into detail or anything like that. Then I do like asking a question still so you can keep the conversation going. So however, I'm still very interested in school. May I have permission to continue to send video and update you with my schedule? This is a question that we already know they're going to say yes to, but it makes them respond. So that's why we do it. Here's another one. Another question, that you could propose. I'm planning to come to a game in the fall. If I can make arrangements with my family, may I say hello to you after the game? This is very forward and very aggressive and gets really good responses. It's just like, it just works really well. I know you're like, well, I wouldn't actually go to a game. If you got invited to a game in the fall, you would actually go. And we would want you to consider going. That's really, really important. And I explain here, there's a good sentence, Okay, the other thing you can do is you go, and/or I've attached my highlight video and every touch video I took against as well as an unedited version. So this is like, hey, I couldn't come to your camp, but here's a full game video, here's an every touch video, and here's a highlight video. So it's your way of saying, I know I couldn't come, but like I still really, really like you and everything else. And then you're going to have obviously your signature that we talked about in the Gmail chapter. Okay, here is the template for before showcases. Okay, so that was kind of like the ID camp section. Now I want you to think of this as the showcase section. So if it's your first email to the team, have your subject line. Now, again, this subject line is custom based off of us working together, so I don't know. But then you're going to go, I've read and heard great things about your program. I recently watched your team, right? Genuine again. That's really important. And this is assuming you've never spoken to them, right? Then you're going to go, may I have your permission to shake hand in person? This is the money question because it tells us a lot of things. One, it tells us if they're going. So we don't have to say, are you going, right? This will answer that. Number two, can we set up a meeting? But here's the thing. We want you to ask the question anyways and kind of pretend to be dumb because sometimes coaches will still say to you, hey, yeah, come say hi, but like I can't recruit you. But they'll still be willing to say hi to you, so it's still worth it. Other times they will tell you, hey, that's against NCAA rules. Hey, now they know who you are. They know what your name is. They read your email. That's really good. So even if you get told no or rejected, it's actually still really helpful. So still do it even if you're a freshman or sophomore. Then we talked about, then the template is the same. Okay, it's the same ones as the one above. My name is, I refer to you, something genuine, and it's the same thing as we've been doing this whole time. Now, this is where it's a little different. For your schedule, it's really important you put this in the email. So don't give them a separate PDF. Don't put it in the email, because what they do is they either print the email out, or what they do is they make a note in their notebook, and if they have to click on another link, it's just annoying. So just put everything in here. So you're going to be very specific. The date, the time, the field, the location, the opponent. The opponent's important because they may go, oh, you're playing them? I'm also a recruiting player there. Great. Now I can see 2 players at once. Now, this sounds silly, but when the managers of your team hand out your showcase pamphlet, right, the coaches sometimes don't see the badge of the team that well. And so they're not really sure, like, what team it is. So if you say, hey, we're going to be in blue or white, well, then they can just use cross elimination to be like, oh, they're going to be in blue or white. So if the other team's in red and yellow, I know that his team's in blue or white. So it's really helpful to have your jersey color. And if you know what jersey you're going to wear per game, that would be even better to put. And you're going to do that for all 3 of your games. Now, let's say during the showcase, there's a change in schedule. Yes, you do need to send out an update email, and maybe you can't do it to everybody. So that's when you would use the AI, because you could do it really quickly. Okay, so this is to go into more detail with each showcase. This is if you've been genuine with them, right? So you've already had previous communication. You don't really need a subject line necessarily, because you could do it within the same chain. But our recommendation is actually for showcases specifically, you do a new chain. So we say, do a new chain. The reason we do recommend a new chain is because we want this email to pop, because we really want them to come. We don't want them because your previous subject line was your mass email subject line probably, or something else. This one now is going to be very specific to, we want them to come to showcase. So in the first part of the subject line, you put this, then you put the subject line we already would have made for you. And then it's pretty short. Per request, keep you updated. I'm attending the da-da-da. May I shake your hand in person? And then you put everything you want. Now, let's say you've not heard back from them, right? You sent them your schedule, but you have not heard back from them. Then you say this sentence: I've not been able to reach you yet. I understand you have many emails a day. Boom, I do that. I'll be attending the showcase from dump to dump. And there it is. Now, let's say you've never emailed them before, right? It's a brand new email. Then what you want to do is, the genuine part is the fact that you're emailing it. So you don't really need another genuine part, such as like, hey, we've been to your game before, or something else. You can really just be like, dear coach, I was fine. I've heard great things about you and your program. I'll be attending the showcase. May I shake your hand in person? Now, if you want to, you do want to put your template again, right? So my name is You have to do the intro again. That's important. And make sure when you guys put your videos, do not put your videos your videos are in your signature, but also put the video in the meat of the email. Okay, don't only have it in the signature. You want them to always be clicking on a link. Now it's the showcase follow-up. So now we're like, okay, we got to follow up with the showcase, etc. And when it comes to like following up with the showcase, ideally you would do it in the same chain. So again, we would stay in the same chain. Stay in the same chain. That would be the ideal scenario. But, if let's say they're not responding, it could be helpful to just do a new one, in which case you would just go showcase name attendee. So your name, showcase, the name of the showcase, showcase name, and then you attended it, obviously, and then your normal stuff. Then you go, dear coach, I'm not sure if you had the opportunity to come watch my game. Then you would tell them how it went. If it didn't go very well, you can just skip that part. If it went well or you scored, you want to definitely put that. I'm excited to share some clips from it soon, or if you have the clips, I've attached clips of us playing against so-and-so. Ideally, instead of using the word clips, this is what most people say, I want to say, I've attached an every touch video / a highlight video from the tournament. So for this one, we prefer every touch videos. Coaches do too. But let's say you did really well throughout the tournament, or you didn't touch the ball that much because you had to split time with everybody. You can make a highlight video of the whole tournament, and that's okay too. And I like this playing against so-and-so. The reason we want to specify who you played against is they may have watched that other team. And then you say, well, I believe I had good moments. We don't really like saying opinions, but if you wanted to say that, it's okay. And that's it. Or this is if the coaches did come see you, right? So this is if we don't know if the coaches came. But let's say your coach, like your club coach, told you specifically, like they came to see us. Then you want to go, dear coach, my coach mentioned to me that you made it out to a game. Amazing. May I ask if you did get to watch us play? Because you don't really know if they did or not. Thank you for your time for coming. I'm making a highlight tape / every touch video, depending on the deal. Every touch video from the showcase, and we'll send it to you in the coming days. Perfect. Okay. That's lovely. and we'll send it to you as soon as possible. And that's like awesome, right? Because then you can follow up and see. Okay, so that takes care of showcases and all the scenarios within the showcases. Now, let's do setting up phone calls, okay? So this is kind of the next chapter, setting up phone calls. The first thing is, if you are not going to be the one asking for a phone call, that doesn't happen like at all. You can sometimes be like, hey coach, can we get on a call? But it almost never works. So you have to wait for them to ask for it. So just so you know, you have to earn that. And the way you earn that is doing all the other templates before. So give specific times. Do not just say you want to call. So dear coach, and if it's a text, your first time texting them, still say, dear coach, I understand you have a busy schedule. I'm happy to make arrangements to work around your schedule, to work around yours. I understand you have a busy schedule. I'm happy to make arrangements to work around your schedule. And then we're saying, I understand you are very busy. So it's not so you are very busy. I'm happy to make arrangements to work around your schedule. I am available from or to because you want to give them multiple times. Now, let's say we're going to book a call with you, right? This is the next chapter, phone call, no show. So let's say they were meant to book a call with you, but they didn't show up, right? Or you had school or something just happened. Then I explain here, they often forget, or, unfortunately, they're not as professional as they should be sometimes. So this is what you do when that happens. You're going to send them a text first, okay? And in the text, you're literally going to say, so I'll put this as a text. You're going to say, dear coach, because you have their phone number. If you don't have their phone number, you can do this via email as well, or email. You're going to go, I understand it's a busy time of year. I want to politely follow up about scheduling a phone call. I'll follow up next week as well. So by saying this, they know you're going to bother them again, which is good. And I put that right here. The other thing to do is call them even if they don't call you. I know you're like, well, they told me they would call me at 2 p.m. or whatever. Okay, but if they don't call you, call them at 2:01. Always call. They will not get angry. And when you leave a voice message, if they don't pick up, just say this. And that's the script. So that's pretty good. Okay. Now let's say you're going to, this is the next chapter. Let's say you're about to go visit a school, but you don't have an invitation, right? You just want to go visit the school because we have a student doing that right now. They're like, we want to go see Georgetown. We're a freshman or a sophomore, and we just want to go to campus, right? So, and even if you're a junior or a senior. So this is how that would work. Dear coach, this is assuming, right, you've never spoken to them. If you've had some conversations back and forth, it's the same template, but obviously you make it a little bit more genuine. So something genuine, right, is said here if you've had prior contact. My name is, I'm a 6'0 winger, wingback I play for. I have a 3-point, I'm scheduling a tour from, or I'm visiting your campus from, or my brother goes to the school, something along those lines. By any chance, does your team have any spring games, right? So that's during the spring season. If time permits, I would love to play check in. If there's no spring games, obviously, like it's the summertime, or you would just say, would it be possible to briefly shake your hand and say hello? Now, remember, if you're a freshman, they're supposed to say no to you, or a sophomore. They're supposed to. But again, we're going to kind of play dumb and kind of send it anyways and let them say to us, hey, look, we're not going to be there, but you know what? We are having a camp and it's the day after, but you know what? Why don't you just come by the office and I'll say hi. Like, they break the rules all the time. So it's important that you do that. And then here's the same concept. So you put your highlight video. So that's if you're not going, basically. Okay, the next thing is, let's say you are going, you have an official invite and you're going. Well, then we have to customize that one because you're going on the invitation. Okay, now let's say they ask you for a full game, which will happen. Or you just want to send a full game to be aggressive, which is something we do like to do. You'd go, dear coach, I have attached my full game video along with timestamps of every moment. So this is the key. You cannot just send your VO link or your trace link. You must give the timestamp. So this player was playing MLS Next, but then got called up to his national team. So this is every single moment he had from those games. And obviously that's a big deal, which is why we put all this information. And here is not only this is the full entire actual length of the game, but we also made an every touch video. Think of these as cliff notes. So coaches will watch this and be like, hey, he did pretty well. I'd like to see the full game, and then watch this. So that's why we do both of those. Okay, now let's say you're applying to the school, right? And you're like, oh, okay, I'm applying to the school and I'm a senior and I'm going to apply no matter what. The soccer team does like me, or I've decided while I'm still discussing with the coaches if they like me or don't like me, I am going to apply to the school. So this is really powerful because if you are applying, there's a lot of things you can do to potentially leverage the fact that you're applying, and that means the coach knows they like you or you like them. So first, you want to make sure there's in capital letters and they know, because that's a big deal. I've read great things about you. I've enjoyed following your team this season, something genuine. I will be applying to your school with or without soccer. I've done cinnamon, blah, blah, blah. This is super important because when you say this, they're like, wow. And then you would say, may I ask if you are still looking for a player, it's a position for the class of whatever your class is. Now, if you've had prior contact, change the ask to, am I, if I am admitted, could I be considered for the class of because the reason you're sending this email probably is you're not being recruited by them to the degree you would like to. So now you're like, hey, I'm going to go to your school no matter what. If I get in, could I come? We did this with a student who went to Harvard, and he got in on his own. And then the coach said, hey, we need a goalkeeper, and he was available, and they already knew who he was, and he just ended up on the team. So this is a very powerful thing to use. Okay, now let's say you want to insert a quote into your email, right? You're leveraging now. This is kind of a dark magic we have to be very mindful of, but it's very helpful. So if you went to a camp and somebody told you did a good job or something of that nature, then what we want to do is we want to use this like very, very specifically. So, dear coach, this is like, in order for us to tell you like what this part is, it depends the situation, your follow-up. But what we do like is, this is what the coach this is for an example student. This player plays D3 now, but a D1 coach went to the camp. The coach was basically like, you're not the level. So we followed up and said, could you be a reference for us? And here we said, Tristan, just let us know how the game works. So we'd love to have you here. I was very impressed with the highlight tape. I look forward to speaking with you further. So we sent this email to D3 schools because a D1 school said, hey, I really was impressed with you. That's why we can insert the quote in there, and we send this via mass emails, and of course we'll customize it for you guys. But this one is a game changer when it comes to getting responses. Okay, now during the fall season is like a huge way to get recruited, like just massive. So people are like, they pause during the fall, and they really don't. Okay, they do not pause during the fall. The fall is a really important time. So obviously you want to say something very, very specific. So first thing being, hope this finds you well. Then you have your template, right? Depends the time of year, what prior convos you've had. But this is the money question, right? We're always trying to ask a question. I'm planning to make a register to attend one of the games of the fall. Okay, that shows a lot of seriousness. Is there a particular game you would encourage me to come to? So now you're saying, which game do you recommend I come to? Would it be possible to shake your hand briefly after the game? I pretty much just like one question at a time, but you could do both. The reason we're saying this is the coaches will turn around and go, we would love to have you at this game because it's going to be a great game. Or they may say, come to any game you want. But what we're gauging here is how genuinely interested they are. Sometimes they'll say, come to any game you want. Well, that means they're not very interested. Sometimes they'll say, wow, you're willing to come to a game? We actually would like to have you on an official visit now. And all of a sudden you went from nothing to an official visit. So this is really powerful during the fall season. And you guys might go, well, it's a little aggressive. And that's correct. It is a little aggressive. You're not going to do this with a school you don't care about. You would do it with schools we do care about. And even with some schools that are backup or even plan C or D, because we can leverage their interest. Let's say this is before the season is started of the college season. So like in the summer. This is like a follow-up process, right? It's already in the same chain. You just want to ask, is there a game you recommend I attend? And I'm very excited to watch you guys. So they've played in 1 or 2 games already this fall, or it's preseason, and you just want to give them an update and follow-up. Now, let's say during the fall season, they're not responding. Okay. Or you were invited to a fall game, more specifically. So invited to fall game and school's not responding. So let's say like you asked which game to come to and they didn't respond to you. Then you go, dear coach, I've not been able to reach you in my first 3 email attempts, or just I haven't been able to reach you. I do plan on coming to your game against so-and-so and so-and-so. Can you confirm it would be okay if I said hello to you after the game? So let's say at one point you were like, hey, we're going to see this player. They confirmed, hey, please come. Then you email them and they're like, you haven't heard back, right? But you still want to go to the game. This is what you do. And I would say, no, if they still don't respond to the school you really want to go to the game and try and say hello. Be polite. Don't like walk on the field or anything, but still go, because if you really like it, it will go a long, long way. Okay. Now, if you're going to the fall game, right, you're going to go no matter what, kind of like you're going on the visit, no matter what. You're going to say, I'm coming to your game on. Would it be possible to shake your hand? So this is like, I'm going to be on a visit at your school anyway. Can I come? And then you would do your template stuff if you've never spoken to them, or you'd be more genuine and you don't need to put all this stuff. Now, let's say it's after the fall game. So you went to the game in the fall. Now you want to talk to them. So you'd go, I really enjoyed watching the game. Add something genuine. I loved the way you played a 3-5-2. Great win at the end. That was an incredible celebration. Like something genuine that shows you were there and you were watching. Good luck to that stage. I'm excited to continue to follow along. So this is just to stay in touch. This is really good for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. If you're a senior, you have to be a bit more aggressive because you need to know where they stand with you. So you might have to ask, like, what are the next steps for me in this process? This is a really good follow-up. No, this one time all year, you can only do this kind of emailing for all this fall stuff one time of the year. So it's super awesome to do it. If you guys want more help, obviously, we can sort that out. Talk to you soon.